Now, is this the greatest game of all time?
You know, your game in the Super Bowl when Chris played for the Patriots, it was so improbable in so many ways.
Same halftime score as yours,
Yeah,
in the other way.
Improbable. So here we are. I walk into the stadium, and it's the Super Bowl. Fox is covering. You got the pregame. It's 4 or 5 hours long. You know, we've got our own, as you know now, as a broadcaster. There's a lot going on.
A lot going on.
A lot going on. There's 32 sections, and you know, what are we talking? What's the order? You know, who's talking about what, and et cetera, because you don't want to be redundant and you want to be on top of it. But this hits me, and I think it's Usher who was there during the day. He kind of had his kind of a all access pass into our green room and everything else. He's a huge Atlanta fan.
Oh yeah.
And, which is great. And he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And I want to say that up front. He's a really nice guy. But here we are. It's 28-3.
28-3 in the third.
In the third quarter. And I'm standing next to Terry, and I get kind of quiet. When I get quiet, it's never good. And I'm quiet, and Terry knows I feel like the worst dad in the world. I push this kid. Now, he makes his own decisions. He's a grown man. He makes his own decisions. But I certainly played a part in, him going to New England.
Over Atlanta.
And it's over Atlanta. And it's 28-3, and I'm the worst dad in the world. That's how I felt. And Terry says to me, like, kind of like Forrest Gump, he just said, "Don't worry, little buddy. Tom's going to throw it all over the yard, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history." And I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind.
You're out of your mind, Terry.
And then, I would say the giant catch was the most improbable catch. I think your catch was the most amazing catch I've seen.
Yeah.
And seriously,
Lucky.
I was there. I'm looking at him like, oh my God, did that just happen? And I'm looking for the review to see if your hand's under it. And it was just the sequence of things that had to happen, including Chris getting a holding call down on, it was like first, and then it goes to
first and 20, and then they decided to throw it, and then we got a sack.
They decided to throw it. I mean, when I say improbable, there were so many things that had to happen in that half, and everything, including the 2-point conversion.
Two 2-point conversions.
Everything.
Two.
It was amazing.
That's fucking hard. And we put in 5 for that game.
It was amazing. And I remember, Chris came on the set, and Diane was there, and the boys were there. Kyle had a tendon surgery, and he was limping around, and it was one of those kind of moments that is a Polaroid in your head, and we go back to the hotel, and I remember I'm still in disbelief. And Usher, who had been yelling, after halftime in our green room, Falcons, Falcons, screaming and yelling, and in my head I'm punching him in the face. But I didn't, I'm sitting in the corner, I'm quiet, and he's a good guy.
Great guy.
And nothing wrong with being a fan. And he probably had no idea that, he didn't put 2 and 2 together, but, not the place to be yelling. But here we are. We go back to the hotel, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And the family's there, and, it's 1 a.m, and you can't get room service. I talked them into sending us some burgers down the lobby, and we're sitting around having burgers. And I go back up to the room finally at like 4 a.m, and the game was being replayed on NFL Network. And I had to watch it like, did this really happen? And I was almost, my poor wife's dead asleep, and I'm watching NFL Network replay of the Super Bowl, and I'm watching it again to say, this really happened. And, of course, Chris goes to Philadelphia the next year.
And does it again.
And does it again. And it's another barn burner game versus New England. What was the average win number?
Our biggest win total was 18 when we won by 10 points against the Rams.
Yeah.
It's usually always been 4-3,
Yep.
3-4.
Yep.
You know, but that's how we wanted to play the game.
Yeah.
That's how Bill wanted. He wanted to control the game.
But you have to be really, really confident in your ability to run situational football to play that kind of a game.
Without a doubt.
Because every possession, every first down, every punt, every field goal, every kickoff is important.
Yeah.
It's like you can't turn the ball over. You can't, there's so many things that can't go wrong.
Without a doubt. I mean, I did the same thing like 3 years later and just watched that game. Like when I retired, I saw that game for the first time TV copy.
I don't think I've ever watched our Super Bowl front.
Exactly. You don't watch them.
Yeah.
But it was on and I was sitting there like, how the fuck did we win this game?